Hello, welcome to The Point. I know this is the first video I've uploaded. It's a great time to get into it as the trade deadline just came and went. It was amazing trade deadline, a lot of player movement, a lot of big things happened. That means a lot for a lot of teams. A lot of teams establish what direction they're going in. Just want to say for more NBA content in the future, I'd love for you to check out my channel and what we got in store. So let's get right into it. The first trade that happened, of course, the Rui Hachimura trade to the Lakers. It's honestly looking like a good deal for both sides at this point. I do believe, like a lot of other people, that maybe you could have got more if you're Washington for Rui Hachimura, especially seeing how much second-round picks were thrown around today at the deadline. But overall, I'm glad Washington decided to do something. They're kind of in this realm where they're like kind of trying to contend, kind of trying to sell. They're stuck in basketball no man's land. Don't like the direction of their franchise. This is a good first step, but overall I think the trade could have been a little bit better. Next up, we got the Kyrie Irving trade. Now this one, of course, started off all the madness in the NBA for the trade deadline. This was the first domino to fall, and then everyone else came after this and started making deals, wheeling and dealing around. Obviously, the Nets needed to trade Kyrie. It wasn't like they just didn't think he was the player, traded him off. No, they had to get rid of him, and I think they did a decent job given what they had to work with. I think Kyrie is a great player, and he has a lot of value. But overall, I think it was a solid trade for both teams. I mean, Dallas, you got Kyrie. Sure, you gave up a couple good role players, but you got back Markieff Morris, a decent role player, and then Kyrie Irving. And of course, Kyrie Irving next to Luka is going to be amazing to watch. People have questions about how the ball handling is going to work and how they're both going to eat, but overall, I think both of them together will figure it out. They're just that good of players. And I think this shows Luka, hey, we're going to try for you. You don't need to leave us, right? You don't need to leave in free agency. We don't want you to walk. Overall, I think this just shows Luka that the Mavs are like, hey, we believe in you. We're going to make this work. We're not just going to let you sit here and be semi-competitive and get bounced in the second round. I mean, maybe make it to the conference finals, right? But overall, they've never really been a serious title contender. And I think Kyrie Irving helps you get there. You might not take the NBA by storm, but with Kyrie Irving, you feel like you at least have a chance because of the star power that he brings to your team. And so for the Brooklyn side of things, Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, at the time, I thought decent role players to go onto their team and help Kevin Durant compete. But obviously now we all know, we'll get into it later, but Durant was dealt to the Suns. So it's kind of confusing, seeing as they maybe could have gotten a better package from like the Lakers, 2 first-round picks, the 2027, 2029, I believe, which will be pretty good picks if LeBron either slows down or isn't playing anymore, which is likely. So I think if they knew they were going to trade KD, which they might not have, they might have been waiting to move Kyrie and then see what KD said, because I'm assuming KD wanted out after Kyrie left. So Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, sure, they're fine players. I'd like to see them play for a winning team, and I don't think Brooklyn's going to be that this year. But they did get a first round and 2 seconds. First round pick, you never know what it could turn into, especially if something happens between Kyrie and Luka. And the type of person Kyrie is, a little erratic at times, so it definitely is a possibility. But overall, solid trade. I think Dallas got the better end of this just because Luka is probably going to be a lot happier. Here is another big deal that happened, and that is the D'Lo to the Lakers deal. Now, everyone's talking about D'Lo being the biggest thing here, but they also got Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt, who are very good role players. They can both shoot the pill. Jared hasn't been shooting as much. He's probably shooting like 1 or 2 a game, I'm assuming, but he can knock him down if he's open, right? And Malik Beasley's just that firecracker that they really needed. Same thing with D'Angelo Russell. They needed someone to come off and score when Bron and AD are not. And I think overall, they accomplished it. It's huge for the Lakers. I don't think this makes them the favorite, but it should boost them back into the playoffs. Maybe in the playoffs, since they have the better pieces now, they can kind of make a run at it. I guess we'll have to wait and see. For Minnesota, you get Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, JTA, and Damian Jones. And then a few second-round picks. Second-round picks are great, but like I said, they're getting tossed around. But Mike Conley and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a good bench piece for them. The hype has died a little around his name, but overall I still think he can be a solid player in this league. Now, Mike Conley, I think, is great to come in and run the show. He already has a little rapport with Rudy Gobert. He can get him the ball, maybe in the spots he wants, when he wants, whatever. I think Mike Conley's a good get for this team, especially because I know Russell's looked a little bit better in the past month, maybe 2 months, but overall, it has not been a great relationship between Russell and Minnesota. And getting someone who's more steady, more of a veteran like Mike Conley, who's been to the playoffs, he's been around, he knows how to run an offense, he's more of a traditional point guard. I think that could be good for this Timberwolves team that kind of just needs some stability right now. And then Utah, they get their first-round pick, top 4 protected, but I doubt it'll be there. They get a first-round pick, and then Russell Westbrook, who I'm assuming is going to get bought out, and I think like the Heat are interested, Clippers, some other teams. I think he would fit really well with the Heat. I mean, yeah, you got a first-round pick if you're Utah. I don't think you can really ask for much more. You gave up Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and got a first-round pick. I mean, that's pretty good. Danny Ainge is doing a good job in Utah now. They are selling everything for picks, which is not the worst strategy. I mean, look how it paid off for the Celtics, the Thunder, both going well. So maybe Utah, 5 or 6 years down the line, they'll get something going. Overall, I think, honestly, it's a pretty fair trade. I think everyone won this trade, Lakers especially. How they were able to turn 1 first-round pick into D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, that's impressive. I think pretty much any team that's contending would have done that deal. I mean, I'm a Nuggets fan personally, and I would have pulled that trigger so quick on that deal. Great move by the Lakers. So next up, we have the Josh Hart trade, and I know everyone was super excited for Josh Hart to go back to playing with Brunson. That was that thing on Twitter, the picture posted, the reaction when Brunson found out Josh Hart was coming back. That was a pretty special moment. It was pretty cool. Good trade for New York. They needed to do something right. Just adding any piece I think is good, and especially getting rid of Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish has potential but had problems with Thibodeau, and I don't think he was going to get playing time on this team. He wasn't going to flourish to be the player he could be under Thibodeau in New York. So I think this is a good start for both players. Cam Reddish leaving to Portland. Hopefully they'll play him more. They needed some bigger forwards, bigger guards that they can roll out there and play alongside Dame and Simons, who are both still on the team after the deadline. So first-round pick as well, which is lottery protected. I mean, that could go either way. But Cam Reddish first and a couple fill-in players. I like this trade for both sides, honestly, because Josh Hart just forgot how to shoot in Portland. Maybe he'll remember when he gets to New York. Who knows? Next up, we got the Jakob Poeltl trade. And what's interesting about this trade is everyone was thinking 3 firsts for OG. We're going to trade OG. Maybe we trade Pascal. Maybe we trade Fred. They traded no one besides fucking Kem Birch. You know what I mean? Which, okay, no disrespect to Kem Birch, but not really a core piece. They got Jakob Poeltl, who is one of the most underrated bigs in the league, and he fits their size everywhere, and I think they're just trying to turn their season around. I listened to Fred VanVleet kind of talk to JJ Redick on his podcast, and he was talking about how they want to get back into the mix things, and they really believe they can. They think Pascal can turn the season around. That whole organization is looking to compete all the time, and that's kind of how it seems. They fooled us by floating around OG. Maybe no one was willing to trade him, 3 picks for him, but either way, they keep their roster together, get Jakob. I think they're a good team out in the East. Solid trade for the Raptors. San Antonio got a first-round pick out of it. It's protected, but 2 future seconds and a first-round pick, pretty good for San Antonio. And the trade that everyone is talking about, everyone's here for, the Kevin Durant trade. Similar to the Kyrie trade, what I said. I think if you trade for Kevin Durant, you're winning the trade. He's just that type of player, right? You get him and you're immediately better. You get him, you're immediately a contender. Everyone's going to put you in that category. You have a chance to win anything with KD, right? Especially when you have Chris Paul and Devin Booker. What surprised me the most about this trade is that they did not throw in Ayton. Everyone thought they were going to trade Ayton, whatever. Everyone was shopping and making mock trades to different cities, whatever. Ayton was not in this deal, which is kind of interesting to me. I don't know if they weren't willing to give him up or maybe Brooklyn just didn't want him. Either way, they get to keep Ayton. They get a starting lineup that looks kind of like Chris Paul, Devin Booker, TJ Warren, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton. That's a pretty good lineup. I think that could get you far in the playoffs, especially because Chris Paul, Kevin Durant. I mean, hell, even Ayton, T.J. Warren, and Booker have had experience in the playoffs, but they really have a experienced group that KD pushes them over the top and puts them into that contender category. And I know a lot of people are going to have them as favorites. I would say wait and see. I mean, we just saw what happened in Brooklyn with KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. You put those three names together and it still doesn't work. So who knows? I guess we'll see how it turns out. But I have a good feeling about Chris Paul and Booker playing alongside Kevin Durant. I think it's going to go well. Now, if you're looking at Brooklyn's side of things, KD's gone. Kyrie's gone. You got fucking Ben Simmons leading the show. You know what I mean? I mean, you get Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Jay Crowder, who they shipped off. But Mikal Bridges is a solid player to put along a star. Do they have that star? Not really. I don't think Mikal is going to become a first option. Sure, he's young, but I don't see him being that ball-dominant go-to player for this franchise. And I don't really know what the future holds with Mikal in Brooklyn, but Cam Johnson's a good young player as well. Overall, good get for him. And they get 4 first-round picks. That's, of course, the big thing for Brooklyn. And 4 first-round picks is a lot of picks. You know what I mean? Even if they're lower picks, let's say they wanted to swap them later on down the line for players, you know what I mean, trade for a big name, they could do that, or they could wait and see what happens. Because, hell, like I said, look at what happened in Brooklyn. Who knows how long that team's going to be together in Phoenix? Who knows if they're even going to do shit in Phoenix? I think they will, but that doesn't mean they will. So those four first-round picks, especially when you got one in 2027 and 2029, that's way far down the line. I don't think we know what the league is going to be like in 5 years. Could be completely different. No one really knows. And, of course, you got a pick swap. Overall, I think both teams did good on this. It does make the Kyrie Irving trade a little bit more interesting and a little lower of a grade for me, because it's like, where are you going here? You got all these players that are complimentary for stars in these trades, like a Dorian Finney-Smith, a Cam Johnson, a Mikal Bridges. You know what I mean? You got all these players, but there's no one for them to complement. Who's there? I mean, Cam Thomas is going to go out there and get you buckets, but is he really a number one option? Is he really a star player? It kind of makes me wonder the direction they're going to go with all these role players. And hell, maybe they make the playoffs and we'll see what happens. They could be a cool first-round series. Who knows? Overall, I think both teams came out with a good deal on this one as well. So, funny story. Today, this is when things kind of started getting crazy. After the Kevin Durant trade, I'm working out, and all as I see is boom, 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 Woj, Chris Haynes, Twitter, fucking, I don't know, CBS. Shout out to CBS for making this tracker. But either way, at this point, my phone just starts blowing up with random trades coming out of nowhere. So we're going to take a quick look at this first one. Mike Muscala, good get for Boston. It's kind of that floor-stretching center big that they needed. Good for OKC as well. But goddamn, OKC. How many picks do you need, man? Next up, we got Jay Crowder to Milwaukee. Brooklyn gets 5 second-round picks, adding to their stockpile of picks after these trades. Jay Crowder's a good get for Milwaukee. Brooklyn chips him off as soon as they get him, which is perfect. You know, you may as well just say in that trade they got 5 seconds instead of Jay Crowder, and that trade looks even better. Good get for Milwaukee. A physical forward to come in and play minutes with and without Giannis, either way. Indiana in this situation gets Jordan Nwora, George Hill, Serge Ibaka in 2 seconds. So basically some salary, a decent player in Jordan Nwora, and 2 second-round picks. Basically, they're just taking on salary and getting picks, and that's fine. Next up is Denver's trade for Thomas Bryant. Now, I am a Nuggets fan, so this is a little more big of a deal than it is to you for me, right? You know what I mean? Unless you're a Denver fan, then shout out to you. We so desperately needed a backup center. I mean, when Jokic is off the floor, obviously the team is going to be a lot worse, and it is. When Jokic is off the floor and DeAndre Jordan is in at center, I've seen it personally. Offense doesn't run as smoothly. Jordan, honestly, at this point is washed. I didn't support the signing in the offseason. But getting Bryant is huge. He was huge for the Lakers, and any injuries they've had and he's had to step in, he's done great. When Jokic is off the floor, Thomas Bryant gives them another option to look to. For the Lakers, you get 3 second-round picks and Devon Reed. 3 seconds is great. Thomas Bryant needed to be off the team. It came out that he requested a trade, so you kind of needed to ship him off anyways. 3 second-round picks is not the worst you can get for Thomas Bryant. The Philly trade, in which they get Jalen McDaniels, Portland gets Matisse Thybulle, and Charlotte gets some seconds. First off, for Philly, I really like this trade. Jalen McDaniels is going to fit in there nicely. He's a 3-and-D player. He isn't the best from 3 this year. I think he's shooting like 30%. So it could be better, but he's someone that you still have to look after on the perimeter, unlike Matisse Thybulle, who they traded away to Portland. Good segue there. In this trade, Thybulle goes to Portland. They needed someone that can play defense around Simons and Dame, and that's what they got in Matisse Thybulle. And then Charlotte, get picks, right? Get picks. They're not doing anything this year. They're not even using Jalen McDaniels as much as you think they would. I think he has a lot more potential than what he showed in Charlotte. So shipping him off is great for the fan base and for Jalen as an individual to grow. All around, I think no one really lost this one. Good trades all around. Next up, we have the James Wiseman, Saddiq Bey, Gary Payton, and seconds trade. This one's a little head-scratching to me because Detroit is taking on James Wiseman, and when I thought of like places James Wiseman could go to get a little more freedom and try to grow as a player, Detroit is not the first place that comes to my mind because of the stacked pile of bigs that they already have. Isaiah Stewart, Marvin Bagley, and them boys, you know what I mean? Like, they already have a lot of big men, so Wiseman's going to go there and play, 15 minutes a game, maybe 20 at the max. Kind of a head-scratcher for me. I'm glad for Golden State that they got this deal done because he just needed to be out of Golden State. And speaking of Golden State, they get Gary Payton back from their title run. A fantastic player, great on defense, and they already know what you're getting with him. We know what they're getting with him. I think it's a great trade for Golden State. For Atlanta here, they get Saddiq Bey. Pretty good get for them, provides some scoring. Atlanta confuses me a little bit still because they haven't been the best this year, and they're not shipping Collins off. They're keeping him after the deadline, and they just add Saddiq Bey to make their rotation a little more messy. So we'll see how that goes. But I do like Saddiq Bey in Atlanta, and it'll be cool to see him on a team that's semi-competing instead of Detroit, who's obviously not competing right now. For Portland, you get 5 future second-round picks. Perfect. Stack up those picks. Although, eventually, I would like to see you maybe use those picks to go get Dame some help, or in an ideal world, in my opinion, get Dame out of Portland. So I think this is kind of leaning in the right direction to gather some more picks. Next trade, we got the Mo Bamba trade, Patrick Beverley. Now, Patrick Beverley got traded to Orlando and then is going to Minnesota. Great for him. It's going to be really cool to watch him back in Minnesota. Maybe they'll act like they won another championship after a play-in game. That'll be entertaining. And they also get a second for Mo Bamba. They needed to get rid of a big anyway. Wendell Carter and Bol Bol have been playing out of this world this year. So getting rid of Mo Bamba makes sense for them. LA, great, adding another piece. It's looking like they're going to have a solid lineup this year. I mean, after all of us making fun of them for their depth and lack of shooting, they definitely have done things to work towards fixing that problem. Good trade for both teams. The next one we had was Mason Plumlee to LA. I think that's going to be one of the most underrated trades of this trade deadline is Mason Plumlee in LA. They kind of needed a big. They got Montrezl Harrell. I don't even know if he's still there. Who besides Zubac, who you got? Well, now you got Plumlee coming off your bench. And as a contender, that's pretty valuable. And as a Nuggets fan, I've seen him play good minutes before in the backup role. And I think it's a huge get for LA. And then Charlotte, of course, gets the second-round pick. Good on them. We also get Eric Gordon finally free from Houston. I have a 2K franchise at Houston. First thing I did was trade Eric Gordon. And I'm really glad that they got Eric Gordon out of Houston into LA. They made some solid moves this deadline. I think he fits well over there. He can shoot, play defense, he could score. I think we'll finally be able to see him unlock his true potential and at a competing level for a championship again, like he was with James Harden in Houston. Really fun to see him out of there. And then John Wall, I think he's going to buyout market. Danny Green as well. And a first-round pick goes to Houston. Pick swap 2023. I think that's a really good deal. Basically, Houston's just setting Eric Gordon free. I think Eric Gordon wanted to leave. Houston probably didn't want to keep him around anymore because he wanted to leave. So they got what they could out of it. And for Memphis, they acquired Luke Kennard. Decent get for Memphis. Kind of disappointed in Memphis at this trade deadline. I'm going to make a video going into depth with winners and losers of free agency or of the trade deadline. And I think Memphis is going to be pretty low on there. So these last 3 trades we'll go through quickly. Pelicans get Josh Richardson. San Antonio gets Devontae Graham and 4 second-round picks. I think it's a good deal for both teams. San Antonio Don't really need Josh Richardson. It's not like you're competing right now. You get Devontae Graham back. Blah. He's going to take a lot of shots. And 4 second-round picks, which is great for San Antonio. And overall, good trade for both teams. Dario Saric in a second for Darius Bazley. I think good deal for both teams. Darius Bazley wasn't really fitting in that well with OKC. Not a lot of minutes to go around in Oklahoma City right now, and I think getting rid of Bazley needed to happen. They're not really utilizing him. Darius Bazley coming into that Phoenix locker room with KD, get another shooter in there, another scorer when KD's not in the game. I think it's a really good move. And then last but not least, snuck in right before the end of the deadline, Garrison Matthews, Bruno Fernando for Justin Holiday and Frank Kaminsky. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, but that's going to be it. Thank you guys for watching. I'd appreciate if you tuned into more videos like this. I'm going to be having a winners and losers video coming out soon. Thanks for tuning into The Point, and you guys have a great night.